The rifle slipped from his shoulder and hit the snow with a soft thud that he didn't speak, didn't move, didn't blink. Just stood there, towering and still, the long breath in his chest visible in the cold mountain air, as if the earth itself had stopped to ask, "What now, Elias?" She stood maybe 20 feet away. No shoes, no coat, belly full with child, ankles bruised from rope burn. Her dress was thin cotton, the kind given to laundresses or field girls. Not the kind you wore in a Wyoming blizzard. Her lips were cracked. Her nose bled slow from one nostril. And her hands were clutching her belly like she was trying to hold the baby inside with sheer will. Behind her, the man who'd shoved her out of the wagon was already turning the oxen around. Paid. Fair and square. The driver had muttered. Elias didn't argue. Didn't threaten. Just let the rifle fall and stared at the girl like she wasn't even real. She looked up at him once, and no words. Just a kind of trembling in her chin, like she was still deciding whether to survive this day or not. But let's go back, before the snow, before the rifle, before he saw her. Back to when Elias Corman still believed that being alone was safer for everyone. He hadn't seen another man in 6 days. The snowfall had buried every trail, and even the wolves had gone quiet. Elias spent his hours chopping wood and checking the snares. His cabin was perched on the northern ridge where the wind tore through the pines like a morning song, and there was nothing but white and stillness for 50 miles. Elias had once owned a ranch down near Rollins. A wife too. 2 sons. All gone now. Typhoid took the little one. Then the wife, when she tried to save him. The older boy ran off to fight for the Union, never came back. After that, Elias stopped speaking to the Lord, sold off the land and moved. Higher into the mountains where nobody asked questions and no one needed help. But quiet doesn't cure grief. It just hides it. That morning, he was pulling a pine stump from the frozen earth when he heard the wagon. Wheels creaking. Oxen grunting. 2 sets of voices. One male, one female. Then a thud. Like something had been tossed off. He reached for the Henry rifle leaning against the porch and walked slow. Boots crunching in the snow. The wagon was already turning back the way it came. But he saw her. Just a lump of fabric in the white. Arms hugging her belly. Hair stuck to her face with sweat. She was trying to crawl, trying to get her knees under her like some animal dumped in the cold to die. "Hey," Elias said. She flinched, didn't look up, just went still. He said it again, softer. "Hey." This time she looked up, and that's when he saw her eyes. They weren't wild like most runaways. No screaming or pleading, just something hollow. She looked through him like she wasn't sure what part of the world she was still allowed to occupy. Elias lowered the rifle. "You need to get up," he said. "It's cold. Come inside." She tried, slipped, got up again. Her bare feet left smudges of blood in the snow. He stepped forward to help her, and she flinched so hard he stopped mid-stride. "I ain't gonna hurt you," he said. Silence. "I ain't gonna buy you either." The wind shifted. Her body leaned a little forward like she might collapse. Elias moved slow this time, offering his coat. She stared at it, then at him, then took it with shaking hands and pulled it around herself like she was wrapping herself in another skin. She smelled like blood and fear and sagebrush. He led her inside without another word. The cabin was warm, but not much. The fire crackled low in the hearth. Elias kept his home simple. 1 table, 2 chairs, 1 cot, and a pile of rabbit pelts he hadn't bothered to sell. She stood near the fire, dripping snow, her fingers twitching like she hadn't decided whether she was safe. He poured her hot water and set a can of beans on the stove. "Sit," he said. She did. Her knees cracked when she bent. She hadn't spoken once. Not a name. Not a cry. Just sat there, hunched, and watching him like she expected him to turn on her at any moment. "You pregnant?" A nod. "How far along?" A long pause. Then she lifted 1 finger. Then another. Then a third. 3 months. She added a 4th finger. He winced. 4. Jesus. He watched her rub her side, like she could feel the baby moving. The way she touched herself, soft and scared, reminded him too much of Ruth. Of the time she lost the second one on the floor of their ranch house. The way she whispered to the baby even after the heartbeat was gone. Elias cleared his throat. "You got a name?" "Nothing." "Were you?" He stopped himself. Too soon. Too heavy. He tried again. "You want me to take you somewhere?" Still. Nothing. Her eyes were darting now, from the rifle on the wall to the knife near the stove. Then to the window. You ain't locked in, Elias said, his voice quieter. Doors open. You can leave anytime. She didn't move as he handed her the mug of water. Her fingers touched his. Cold as death. But she didn't pull away. That was the first time he saw it. The flicker of something in her. Not trust. Not even hope. Just a small piece of her that still believed in warmth. That he sat back in his chair, arms crossed, boots muddy from the snow. What's your name? He asked again. This time, she opened her mouth. Her voice was barely louder than the wind. Clara. And just like that, the snow outside felt quieter. But peace don't last long in these mountains, because by nightfall, someone was coming. And Elias knew deep down, whoever sold her Barefoot in a blizzard wasn't done with her yet. The stew boiled slow on the fire, but neither of them touched it. Elias sat near the window, chewing on a matchstick, rifle across his lap. He hadn't lit a lamp since sundown. He liked to see out before anyone could see in. Clara had barely moved in 2 hours. She sat near the hearth, back straight, her eyes fixed on the flames. Her cheeks were red with thawed blood, and the edge of her lip had cracked from the dry air. But she didn't speak, didn't ask questions, just sat quiet, soaking in the warmth like she wasn't sure how long it would last. Elias finally said, You got folks anywhere? Clara shook her head that he squinted at her. Where'd they pick you up? Still nothing. Texas, he guessed. Kansas? You sound like you're from farther east. Her jaw twitched. Then, soft and slow, she muttered, Kentucky. He grunted. A long way from home. She didn't argue. He looked down at the rifle across his lap. The iron was cold against his hands. You got sold? Her fingers closed around the sides of the wool blanket, like she could rip her way into it. She nodded once, and the motion looked like it hurt more than it helped. By your family? Another nod. Elias's gut tightened. He'd seen a lot of wrong things out here. Men hanging boys for stealing biscuits. Women shot in the back for fleeing brothels. He'd buried folks in the high country who were worth more as corpses than they ever were alive. But selling a girl, barefoot and pregnant, into this wilderness? That was a different kind of evil. That he leaned forward and placed the rifle against the doorpost, slow and deliberate. I don't know what kind of man left you here, he said. But if he comes back, he don't leave again. Not with you. Clara stared into the fire. Her eyes didn't flicker. Don't talk like that. She said softly. Elias blinked. Like what? Like you'll die for me. Her voice cracked halfway through the sentence, but she finished it anyway. That alone told him more than anything else she'd said. She'd seen men make promises before. She'd seen them die too. I ain't offering to die, he said. I'm offering a roof, a fire, and peace. For how long? She whispered. He didn't answer. Outside, the wind had shifted, and with it came the faintest sound, hooves crunching through shallow snow. Elias stood. He walked to the window and tilted the curtain a fraction. There was a horse tied off just down the trail, and a man standing still in the tree line, watching. The cabin. Long coat, flat hat, something slung across his back, too far to make out what. He wasn't moving, but Elias could feel him studying the house, calculating something. Clara was already trembling again. You know him? Elias asked. Her voice came hollow. He was the one driving. The one who'd tossed her from the wagon. The rifle was back in Elias's hands before the words even finished leaving her mouth. I'll handle it, he said. No, she snapped, voice rising for the first time. If you shoot him, more will come. There were others, 2 wagons behind his. They watched. They laughed. Elias paused. His voice was low, controlled. You were sold with others? She nodded. Girls? Her throat moved like she was swallowing something sharp. 2 of them couldn't speak English. One might have been no older than 12. Elias pressed his hand against the window frame and closed his eyes. I can't fix the world, Clara, he muttered. But I sure as hell can make it regret touching you. Clara moved toward the door, barefoot still. Don't open it. He looked at her. Really looked. She was scared, but not for herself. She was scared for him. And that was what made his chest feel tight. He opened the door anyway. The man outside hadn't moved. Elias stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind him, letting the wind slam his coat open like wings. You're trespassing, Elias called out. The man took one slow step forward. She's mine. Elias raised the rifle, but didn't aim it yet. She ain't property. Paid her pa $50. Then her pa's the one you should collect from, if he's still alive. Another step forward. Elias now saw. The man was younger than he looked. Maybe late 20s. Pale stubble. Drunk or coming down off something. She's carrying my son, the man muttered. No, Elias said flatly. She's carrying a child. And that child ain't yours just because you kept her shackled in the back of a wagon. You some kind of preacher? The man growled. I'm a man with a gun and no more patience. The man's hand dropped toward his belt. Elias didn't flinch. I've buried more men than you've robbed. He said that it wasn't a threat, that it was a warning. The man paused. His eyes darted past Elias toward the cabin window. Then he spat into the snow and turned. You'll die for her, he said over his shoulder. No, Elias replied, lowering the rifle. But I won't let her die for you either. The man mounted his horse and rode off without another word. Elias stood in the snow long after the hoofbeats faded. When he went back inside, Clara hadn't moved, but her lips were parted just slightly, like she'd been holding her breath. The entire time that he sat down beside the fire and picked up the stew pot. You need to eat, he said gently. Clara nodded, and as she lifted the spoon with shaking hands, Elias watched her closely, because he knew men like that didn't leave a girl behind without coming back with worse. The morning brought silence, but not peace. Elias rose before the frost had even begun to melt off the roof. The cabin's fire had died to coals, and the only light came from the cracks in the wall and the pale gray sky leaking through the window. Clara was still asleep, curled on the cot beneath 3 pelts, one hand on her belly, the other clenched in the fabric of Elias's coat. He didn't wake her. He didn't want it. He stepped outside and scanned the tree line. The man from the night before had left no fresh tracks, but Elias had lived too long in these mountains to take that as comfort. Predators didn't always come with sound. Sometimes they waited. Sometimes they starved you out. He fed the mule, checked the snares, chopped more wood than he needed, all with the rifle slung across his back like a warning. By the time he stepped back inside, Clara was sitting up, her hair tied back in a knot, her eyes sunken but alert. You got food? She asked. He raised an eyebrow. It was the first full sentence she'd spoken since giving him her name. I got food, he said, but I ain't got a lot of sugar or flour left. Beans are fine. He stirred the pot from last night and reheated it over the fire. She ate slow but steady, the color coming back to her cheeks one bite at a time. She kept glancing at the door, like expecting someone to kick it open. They'll come, she said. I know. Her spoon paused halfway to her mouth. You should leave me. Take your mule. I'll go the other way. Elias didn't answer. He set down a tin cup, poured some water from the bucket, and took a long drink. I've done that before, he said finally. Left folks behind so the trouble would follow them. Not me. Clara didn't speak. Elias looked at her, eyes soft but tired. Didn't sleep good after. She gave a slow nod, like she understood. He added, they'll come. By noon. How do you know? Because the man from last night wasn't alone. He was scouting, testing the water. The ones who bought those girls, they didn't just spend money. They invested. And investors don't walk away. Clara's voice lowered. They'll be armed. I know. And if they burn this place, they won't. Elias, he turned to her slowly. The way she said his name, with fear tucked inside it, made him feel something he hadn't felt in years. A quiet fire in the chest. Not rage. Not pity. Just purpose. I fought in the war, he said. Back when bullets were still made of lead, and a man's hands told more truth than his words ever could. I know how to keep a place. And I know how to bury a man if I have to. Clara blinked once, as if memorizing the edges of his face. Then she stood. I want to help. You already are. She shook her head. I don't mean like that. I mean, if they come, I want to fight too. Elias's brow furrowed. You ever held a rifle? No. Ever fired one? No. Ever watched a man die? Clara hesitated. Then she said, yes. Elias went still. He didn't ask her to explain. He walked to the wall, took down an old cap-and-ball pistol, and handed it to her. Load it, he said. She stared at the weapon, then at him. I told you, I've never. I know, he said. But I've seen what fear does to a man when he's cocky. And I've seen what fear does to a woman when she's cornered. He watched her hands shake as she took it. Safety's here, he said, pointing. Pull the hammer back first. Don't waste it on a warning shot. She nodded, Lips tight, he turned to the window again. That's when he saw it. Movement in the trees. 3 men this time. On foot. Coming slow, rifles across their backs, one. With a coiled whip swinging at his hip like some kind of badge. They're here. Elias whispered that he stepped outside. The snow was melting, leaving patches of mud and frozen leaves. The 3 men stopped 20 yards from the porch. The lead man was tall and lean, with a scar running from his eyebrow down to his cheek. His coat was buffalo hide, and his boots were too fine for these mountains. You the one took my girl? The man asked. Elias didn't move. She wasn't yours. You keep her in that cabin? She's under my roof, not my chain. The man smirked. Big words from a mountain. Rat. Elias didn't flinch. The man motioned to the one beside him, stocky, bearded, with a hawk tattoo inked down his neck. Tell you what, the leader said. We'll take her quiet. No blood. You get to live. Cabin stays standing. Just give her back, and no one knows your name. Elias took a slow breath, then said, soft as gravel. The last time I let a girl suffer so I could live, my wife never forgave me. She died before she could, and I never forgave myself. The leader's smile faded, but Elias's voice didn't rise. It got quieter. I'd rather burn this place with both of us in it than let you drag her back to whatever hole you pulled her from. Behind him, he heard the cabin door creak opened. He didn't turn. The men looked past him. Their eyes narrowed. Clara stepped into view, pistol shaking in her hands. No shoes. No coat. Just Elias's wool draped over her shoulders like armor. She didn't say a word. She just raised the weapon and pointed it straight at the leader. The man with the hawk tattoo laughed once. You got the girl playing soldier now? Elias's voice came like steel from the porch. She ain't playing. No. One moved. The mountain air was so still it felt like even the pines were holding their breath. And then the leader spoke, voice cold. You got till sundown to hand her over. He turned and walked back into the trees. The others followed. And when the woods swallowed them whole again, Elias let out a long, slow breath. He turned to Clara. She was shaking, but still holding the gun. I was scared, she whispered. So was I. She looked up at him. They'll be back. I know, he said. But this time, we'll be ready. The sky turned to iron by mid-afternoon, gray and thick, like it was holding back something the mountain wasn't ready for. Elias worked in silence, moving like a man who'd done this before. He boarded the windows from the inside, tied extra snowshoes across the back wall in case they had to flee north, and packed bullets into a strip of rawhide he tied around his waist like a belt. Clara sat by the hearth, cleaning the pistol with a strip of linen, her hands steadier than the day before. She watched him move, study, prepare, and for the first time, she didn't feel like a burden. She felt like a witness. You always build your own coffin before a fight? She asked, voice dry. Elias gave a half smile. No, just figured. If I don't, someone else might make it ugly. He tossed her a folded strip of rabbit jerky. Eat. She took it without a word. Time passed slow. The kind of slow that drips like honey through your ribs. Outside, the silence stretched too long, and even the birds were gone. Then, just before sundown, Elias looked up sharply. A sound. Not loud. Not fast. Just wrong. He stepped to the window and peered out past the cracks in the boards. Smoke. Thin. Black. Rising about a mile south. Then another stream. Then another. 3, maybe 4 campfires. Clara moved beside him. They're setting up. No, Elias murmured. They're putting on a show. She frowned. What kind? The kind that says, we're not hiding. We're waiting. He turned from the window and knelt by the bedrolls. Opened a false bottom in the floorboards and pulled out a small bundle wrapped in oiled canvas. Clara watched silently. Inside were 3 sticks of dynamite. Her breath hitched. You planning to bring the mountain down? If I have to, he said. She studied him for a long moment. You've done this before. Elias didn't answer. He just wrapped the dynamite again and tucked it beneath the hearthstone. Outside, a wolf howled. Low, lonely. Then came a second sound. Not natural. A bell. A soft chime. Moving, Elias stiffened. That ain't no cow, he said. Clara's eyes widened. What is it? He listened harder. Another chime. Then a dragging sound. Metal scraping over ice. Chains? He walked to the back door and cracked it just enough to see out. And then he saw them. 4 riders. 1 leading a 5th, a girl. Barefoot, no more than 11. Hands bound. a chain dragging from her ankle, padlocked. She had blood on her arm and a piece of torn cloth tied across her mouth. The rider holding her was the same man with the hawk tattoo from before. They brought one of the others, Elias said grimly. Why? Clara whispered. To send a message. Elias stepped outside and waved one arm. That's far enough. The group stopped at the edge of the clearing. The hawk-necked man pushed the girl forward. She stumbled, nearly falling face first into the snow. The lead man, Scarface, called out. This one don't eat, till you hand Clara over. Elias didn't answer. We'll give her back, Scarface continued. Maybe. We just want what we paid for. You keep the one in your cabin, we take the girl. 1 for 1. Clara stepped outside, standing beside Elias, the pistol tucked in her waistband. You don't get either, she said quietly. The leader smiled. Then she starves, and you both die. They turned and rode back to the fires, dragging the girl behind. Clara's voice was shaking now. They'll kill her. I know. We can't let them. I know. Elias leaned on the porch post. Eyes closed. The war raged behind his ribs, the kind that doesn't explode, just tightens and tightens until your chest can't hold it anymore. I lost one once, he said. A girl not much older than her. Town sheriff claimed he was taking her someplace safe. Sold her to a trader before she even crossed the county line. I never found her again. Clara turned to him. Then let's not lose this one. He opened his eyes. The wind kicked up as the sun touched the peaks, throwing gold and ash across the snow-covered valley. They didn't have soldiers, or a posse, or time. But they had a cabin, a rifle, a pistol, 3 sticks of dynamite, and one girl who had nothing left to lose. An hour later, darkness rolled in like thunder without sound. Elias walked the perimeter. He'd set traps, trip lines, broken glass in the brush, sharpened branches tied low to the trees. Nothing that would win a war. Just things that might buy a second or two. Inside, Clara was tying a strip of cloth around her waist to hold the pistol steady. Her breath came shallow, but her hands didn't shake anymore. You good? He asked. She nodded. You? I'm old, he said. But he smiled. The kind of smile that comes when a man has already decided what kind of death he'll accept, and which ones he won't. He loaded the rifle, checked the dynamite one last time, then leaned against the window, waiting, not for mercy, not for help, just for the first sign that it was time to draw the line. Because whatever came next, they would face it together. The first shot didn't come from Elias. It came from the trees. A single crack, sharp and sudden, split the night. A warning, not a kill. It hit the corner of the cabin's roof, scattering bark and snow like confetti. Elias ducked low and whispered, "Showtime." Clara moved without being told. She dropped beside the hearth, pistol drawn, facing the back door. Her eyes were wide, but her hands were still. Then came the second shot. Lower, closer, would splinter near the window where Elias had just stood. He exhaled, slow. They're flanking. From outside came the call. Last chance. You give her. Up, you live. This don't have to get bloody, mountain man. Elias replied with a silence louder than any bullet. Then he whispered to Clara. If they breach the back door, fire once. Then run. She looked at him sharply. I'm not leaving. You. I know, he said softly. But saying it out loud helps me pretend I'm not scared. Clara gave the faintest nod, and for just a moment, a flash of something passed between them. Not love. Not quite. But something real. Something like I see you. I won't let go. The next sound was boots crunching snow. Too many for one man. Elias moved fast. He slid to the side window, cracked it open, and peeked through the narrow slit. 3 men. 1 had a torch. He wasn't coming to talk. He was coming to burn. Elias raised the rifle. Waited. Crack. The man with the torch spun in a blur of sparks and dropped. His torch hit the snow, hissing. 1 down. The others ducked. Fire. Someone screamed. 2 more shots slammed into the front of the cabin, one punching through the doorframe, the other embedding in the table near Clara. She didn't flinch. Elias reloaded with the calm of a man who'd done this in Tennessee fields, soaked with blood. Then, a sound neither of them expected. A cry. A child's cry. High. Weak. Choking. Clara turned to him. The girl. Elias didn't speak. They'd chained her somewhere close enough to hear the gunfire, to hear her possible rescue. That wasn't just cruelty. It was calculation. Another shot hit the roof. We can't wait, Clara said. They'll torch the cabin or smoke us out. Elias made a choice. Second window, he said. You take it. Get low, crawl fast. Head for the creek bed. She hesitated. You can't cover me and hold the cabin. I won't have to. He pulled the dynamite bundle from beneath the hearthstone and tucked it under his coat. I'm going to draw their eyes, he said. You find that girl. You bring her back. Clara's breath hitched. And if I don't? Elias looked at her. Eyes lined, beard streaked with gray, but burning with something she hadn't seen before. You will. She opened the side window and slipped out, belly low to the snow, disappearing into the dark. Elias waited 2 full breaths, then kicked. Open the front door. Snow rushed in.so did shouts. There he is. Elias didn't fire. He ran, left, toward the tree lean, waving something red in his hand. The men chased him, 2 breaking off wide, 1 straight ahead. They didn't know what he carried. Not until he dropped behind a fallen log, struck a match, and lit the fuse. 0.5 seconds. 4.3. He hurled the bundle high and wide. The explosion wasn't massive, but it was loud. Enough to send 2 men sprawling and another ducking behind a stump. Smoke filled the clearing. Trees hissed with the blast. In the chaos, Clara found her way to the tree where the girl had been tied. Chains locked. No key. She pulled the pistol and fired once, twice, until the chain snapped free. The girl didn't speak. She just clung to Clara's waist like a sack of bones. Behind them, the world erupted with yelling. Clara didn't look back. She ran. Snow burned her legs. Twigs tore at her arms. But she ran. She reached the cabin, kicked open the back door, and hauled the girl inside, slamming the latch behind them. Then she collapsed. Elias came through the front minutes later. Face cut, 1 sleeve torn, smoke rising from his coat. You did it, she whispered. That he looked down at the girl, shaking, eyes too wide for her small face. He dropped to 1 knee and touched her wrist gently. Then he looked at Clara. Both of you, he said, into the crawl space. Now. She helped the girl down beneath the floorboards, piling blankets and sacks around them. What about you? Clara asked. I got 2 shots left, he said, lifting the rifle. And I ain't saving them. Her hand reached out and touched his sleeve. Elias. He paused. Her voice broke. Please don't make me bury you. He looked at her and smiled, tired but steady. I already been buried, Clara, he said. I just never laid down till you showed up. He turned toward the door, the rifle raised, and as war drums of boots and shouts closed in again, he took 1 last breath of mountain air and stood between the fire and the ones worth saving.